in Australia. That's right, down under, as Hawk said. And yeah, it's 2 a.m. I hope you're ready. If you didn't know, Revolution Radio has a chat room. Mecki and I are in there right now, and you can be too. Simply go to freedomslips.com. You can chat to us and listen from there. You can listen to the station from there. So if you're driving around and you want to become part of the show, jump into there. It's really cool. You can also check out our website. We have a website for ourselves, and it's shinysideout.net for more info. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and there's also a blogger. Both of us have blogs, and there's one for the show as well. There are heaps of ways to listen to us, though. It's not just through the website or just through the current medium. So you might want to choose, if you happen to be able to opt in for some of these other things. They're pretty cool. You can go, if you're in Kentucky, you can listen on WZZR 101.3 FM. If you're anywhere else in the entire world, I mean, clearly the entire world, or maybe, Mecki, even in space, if you're in the ISS, you could stream. It would be really cool, and I really appreciate it. Download the app. But you can stream this show live while we're on air via Revolution Radio app, TalkStream Live app, TuneIn.com. That's also another app. Radio Tuner, Spreaker.com, iHeart Live 365, and our very own app. You can get an app, and we made one. It's pretty cool, called Shiny Side Out. Just search for that, you'll find it. It's pretty cool. Also, if you're at home, if you don't like all of that app stuff and you want to go old school, right, if you feel like you're comfortable that way, get yourself a Grace tabletop digital radio, and you can listen to us. Or if you happen to be driving between 2 and 4 a.m., if that's your job, if you're a truckie, you might be a truckster, yeah, getting around. Well, you can listen to us via an app, or if you happen to be in a car, in a GM motor vehicle with a receiver enabled at radio, you can do that too. Every one of those things, instead of just being on FM, are revolutions in radio. I just love it. I love the platform. I love where we are, Mecki.
I love it more.
If you want a CD of our show from last year, our catalogue, just check out the station's website. It's pretty cool. It's like the best of, if you like it. The number to call in if you want to contribute to the show at any time. I prefer that you jump into the chat room and have a chat to us first. You can launch questions at us that maybe it's pretty handy. But if you're bursting at the seams and have to get your point across and you don't feel satisfied, you can call in on it's a US number, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You'll have to apply your US area code in whichever way your country accepts it. 347-688-2902, or if you've got Skype, just add Freedom Screen, and you can call in via the correct channels that the radio station has got for us. It's awesome. Solara's had an excellent show with Russ Tanner. If you missed it, and I hope you didn't, but if you did, check out the station archives for that one. It's awesome.
Yes, it is the good one show. Yes.
Mecki, welcome. Welcome
Dave,
to our show.
Welcome to you, sir. Welcome. Now, yes, good. Interesting week, yes. Very interesting week. Of course, always has been. How's your week been?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I barely even know what day it is anymore. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. You know, do you know how hard it is to keep up with all the stuff going on around the world?
It is impossible. Impossible.
Yeah,
can't do it.
Yep, can't do it. Well, that's been proven.
Yep, even the two of us together have a hard time keeping up with it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go on. Yeah,
the G20's coming up.
Yes,
the G20, and our country backed down and then sort of made some. Okay, I have to keep it rated G. Not a very good. It's not good. Not a very good attempt at an emission trading scheme of something, or rather, that they don't really understand how it's going to work or anything. But
it's not happening anyway. Climate change.
Yeah, climate change
is a conspiracy theory. It's a hoax.
It's right. That's right. Of course, the little birdie in our Prime Minister's ear is Big Coal, who and I've said this 1,000 times. We're sitting on one of the world's largest resources of coal, the most unpopular thing to sell right now, and they're dreaming up ways of being able to sell it in another It's log. Everybody loves log. That's a Ren and Stimpy gag. Yeah, this year for Christmas we'll be buying our children a lump of coal.
Yay!
Yeah,
coal! Yay!
Coal for everybody.
Yeah, we all make snowmen and you use the coal for the ice.
Coal man.
The coal man.
The
huh?
coal man. That's
we use snowballs for ice instead of the other way around. I like it.
I have to say, Coca-Cola, move your Santa Claus to one side. Here comes the coal man.
Coal man.
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Huh?
How good is that, right?
I like it.
We'll be able to sell way more coal than we used to.
I tell you what, this is crazy stuff. Now look, but seriously though, guys, it has been a very busy week. Very hard to keep up with all the current affairs, news, and so forth. One thing I noticed though, because I keep a very close eye on it, Dave, and I actually followed up why this is. The number of Ebola deaths has now decreased. The Ebola deaths has decreased. So we had.
Let me get it straight, right? So as we were watching the graph was increasing cumulatively.
Yep.
Increasing, and what's it done?
Now it's gone down by 200 cases. Now what they're saying, because I followed the chat and the editing, comments, and so forth, which is what I do. It's boring. Don't do it yourself. Apparently, some cases had been misdiagnosed. The lab results came back. Now that's okay. I have no problem with that. You want to do that, but you want to do it historically as well. So you want to go back to when you have misidentified them in the first place. So we had 5,000 and something Ebola deaths last week.
Yeah.
Now we've got 4,800. Now, the one thing, though, that worries me greatly, to some extent, is this is from an official source here, where we take off the net. It says that the estimates of deaths and cases has been underestimated by a factor of 3. So we've got we've almost got 15,000 cases, and we've got 5,000 dead.
Yeah.
So there could be 45,000 cases and 15,000 dead. Wow. I don't like those numbers at all, because they're still exponential, right? And we now have put a lot of people in harm's way, including the 3,000 American soldiers. Other countries have sent people as well.
That's right.
I think Canada has now refrained from them. They said, "No, we're not sending people." Or maybe Australia too. Or maybe Australia is not sending, but Canada is.
Exactly. So I can fill the gap in here. It's just surprising that the deaths have gone down. It was like, oops, forgot they died of something else. Yeah, that's the only excuse you could take them off the Ebola death list.
No, they're still dead, guys.
They're still dead. They're not walking around as zombies.
No.
I want to make that clear. Is that right, Mackie? There is not like an Ebola zombie thing going on, because
no Ebola zombies.
That is the zombie apocalypse is right up my alley. I think that would be awesome. I got a chainsaw here. I'm ready. Yeah.
I tell you what, though, and this is something we have, since you brought it up, we always keep our eye on the popular culture. It's very important to do that, because I believe, and I'm sure Dave is with me, or well, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking he might be with me. We're all plugged into the Akashic record, right?
Yes.
What is the Akashic record? It's the collective unconscious, the Jung's collective unconscious. It's the great quantum sea of possibilities that all minds are plugged into, because I believe the brain that we have is actually a quantum shadow, or it's a 3 or 4 dimensional projection out of a 5 or 6 dimensional quantum field. That's what our brain is. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Point is that we're all plugged into this great collection of all experiences, memories, past and future, ever had. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, he plugged into it regularly. He actually said he would, and he helped and healed a lot of people without ever charging them anything for it. Boom. Mm-hmm. Now, but my point here is this: so the popular culture, things bubble to the surface, right? There's massive interest in end times right now. I guess it's maybe not a big surprise, but zombieism, and there's also novels, very interesting novels that deal with life after the collapse, for example, right?
We interviewed Thomas.
Yeah,
Wolfenden.
That's right.
Yeah,
and there's one book which I urge you to read. Okay, we don't advertise, we don't get any money for advertising, but when we come across something that is worthwhile, we will tell you about it. Now, this book is called Endgame.
Oh,
okay,
yes. Yes.
It's got a gold kind of cover and whatnot, and in fact, this is very interesting. If you solve the puzzle that's contained within the book, and it's going to be a trilogy, you can win $500,000 in gold, which are kept at I think it's I can't remember which
better not
casino,
be
but some
Fort
casino in
Knox.
Las Vegas. No, not Fort Knox. No, it's a casino
Under
in
the
Las
World
Vegas.
Trade Center.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
Just keep digging. But yeah, so and in that book, okay, Endgame is. I won't give the story for you. I won't give it away. They'll tell you pretty much in the first few pages what it's about. But it's about the end of the world and how the bloodlines. Okay, now these are bloodlines going back thousands of years that know the real history of the world. They are fighting it out to make sure that their bloodline is the surviving one once the Anunnaki, the sky
here.
people, come back.
Of course.
The people who made us to mine gold from. That's all in the book. They go to Göbekli Tepe to pick up clues. They go to Stonehenge. I've read the first book, so I finished with it. And I read through. Well, you guys, whoever wrote this, the author, two authors actually, they are very, very close to what Dave and I think is actually going on, right? So, you can read it with that in mind. And most of the stuff they talk about, certainly the ancient sites and so forth, that's all factual. They even went to Xi'an, to the Terracotta Warriors, and it's fascinating stuff, guys. So that's a book I highly recommend if you want.
Yeah, I've been doing a very parallel research during the week, looking at the same information, but not connected to the book. And there's a lot there. That's
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Mackie, I just want to pull us, drag us, kicking and screaming back to the G20 for a sec, if you don't mind.
Sure. Kick
right.
and scream.
Yeah, cool. Oh, kicking and screaming, please. There was a person this week arrested for taking a photograph of the front of the building, which is just some steps, where the G20 will be held next week. Now, they were arrested for taking a photograph. Hang on. The flag didn't interest in me because I thought, well, what did they actually do wrong? Nothing. The area is designated as being for the G20, sure, great. You can find a photo of the front steps on Google Maps in Street View. You can see the same stairs. In fact, there was a considerable amount of irony. In the news story itself, the press released their own photograph of the same front steps to headline the story. What? Hang on. If you're not allowed to take a photograph of it, but it's public space, and in fact, there's no law preventing you from taking a photograph of anything at all in public space, as long as you're not peering through someone's window into private space. And it's like, well, how come the guy got arrested? Surely the policeman would have gone, hey, back to buddy, we got a thing going on. Do you mind? Would you mind not taking a photo? That would be great. They didn't say where the person's country of origin. They didn't mention anything else, and all it did was reek of police state. That's all it did. Right, We're now banning people from taking photographs of things that we didn't tell you you're not allowed to take a photograph.
Dave, obviously you don't understand that, they have a concern for our safety and well-being, and some things children shouldn't play with, shouldn't look at,
Oh.
Just feel comforted by the fact that you're being looked after. You're part of a flock. You're a sheeple.
Oh.
Enjoy. Embrace the sheepleness.
I tried.
There you go.
I got Ugg boots. The original Ugg boots, by the way, if you're in the US.
We have a right to assembly. We have a right to free speech. We have a right to disseminate information as much as we like, as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. That's right. Our right. These are rights given to us by some mysterious force bigger than ourselves, or at least the founding fathers believed that. So I'm concerned, Dave. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned.
Yeah,
I'm very
too.
concerned.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm. There was further interest in another story to do with. It was to do with the mining. Initially, to do with a mining lease that was being approved, and a person from the Sydney Morning Herald had a gigantic rant of biblical proportions, like 9 paragraphs rant on a police state. This was from the SMH. The Sydney Morning Herald is it Packer or Murdoch? Whoever it is that owns it. And I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. If I said both, it just covers me because it's someone.
Well, it's one of them.
Yeah,
right?
it is one of them. But to hear to see that gets approved for release, because everything's vetted. Because you can't be, a journo on the paper and have your story get through unscathed. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was something else. It was certainly something to, and there wasn't one part of that story that wasn't slanted towards police state, the creation of a police state, the ASIO powers. And remember, these are journos, and reporting now can land you in jail for some reason. But one of the things, Meccy, that came out in Australia, and for all of those, for everyone who's listening to this, for whenever you do happen to hear it, the laws changed so significantly overnight and were passed by both upper and lower house and are now law, that the government can do whatever they want with your data, pretty much. That any website you've been to, the IP address of your machine will be remembered for 2 years. It's not just metadata. The metadata includes your mobile phone, your location, your geolocation as well. If you didn't know that, Meccy. So
I did. Yeah, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody in Parliament knows what metadata is.
No, they have no clue. They asked them. They actually did a pop box outside the Parliament and goes, "What's metadata?" And they go, "Oh, it's just that internet thing, whatever." Yeah, right. So what it meant in the story from the SMH, it covered all of these different areas. It was quite clear that this was a journalist trying to speak out against this rising police state that the government's creating, where they can... remember that Meccy, say we had a private conversation with someone, that we had a three-way conversation with someone that we wanted to remain anonymous, and we brought out the information publicly, they would just go, well, they must have talked to them in this week, they have a look to see who they talked to, and voila, they know who it was that released the information. That's the danger. That someone trying, like a whistleblower or someone trying to get information out to the public, will be putting themselves in danger by actually talking about it. They're doing that anyway, but we have whistleblower policies which are there to protect them. And that's the fear that came from this story was we're in some deep strife. We're only going to be able to report on, this is a comical reference to Airplane, the movie, or Flying High as we know it. There's a downtown fire and a plane crash. That'll be it. And that'll be the whole news. So that's what this story came down to. It boiled down to just the scariness of this police state that's been created. And he even mentioned, what was that, which president was it that said that lovely quote about freedom, that if you're not able to protest against it, it wasn't worth you having it. You know that one, Meccy?
I do.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I
well, look,
poorly worded it. But
no. Look, I'm with you, but the thing is this, and I have to just make this point as well. The government that is in existence is always the government that the people deserve at the time.
That's right. Okay? Yeah.
We let it happen for the most part. Okay, not always. And like Jefferson said, and I've quoted him ad nauseum now, from time to time, the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood of patriots. Now, you don't have to take that literally, but certainly you must make a stand for what you believe, and you must question things, right? You can't just let the police or whoever take people away. That's what happened in Nazi Germany, right? They just came for your neighbors, and they go, well, they must deserve it. The police are coming for them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yep.
No. I want to quickly quote a poem here, which then we get on. But I've quoted this before, so bear with me. This was written after World War II by one of the survivors of Auschwitz. When they came to take the communists away, I said nothing. When they came to take the homosexuals away, I said nothing. When they came to take the handicapped away, I said nothing. When they came to take the gypsies away, I said nothing. When they came to take the Jews away, I said nothing. When they came to take me, there was nobody left to speak up.
Ah, nice.
All right, so guys, you think about that.
That just rings so many bells, doesn't it? Well, good
I
luck
know.
with whatever your situation happens to be. I was thinking today, if we suddenly heard the roar of fighter jets overhead, from
Yeah.
which country would they most likely be from? And I was thinking Indonesia.
In Australia, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
if that were the case, I mean, it's quite a way to fly down to Sydney for them. Nonetheless, it's a possibility, of course. But you know what? History will march on. Whatever will be. And we cannot lose our humanity to the worries. And like we said before, and we've said it again,
Yep.
fear is just a shadow of something that hasn't happened yet. Fear is
That's right.
not real, and I think there was this great combo that Nighthawk put together, or maybe it was Tones. Where the quote is, in fact, fear is not a reality. Fear is a possibility, and if we allow it into our lives, well, that's our problem. Okay, fear is something that is not there yet. You're thinking about the future. You don't fear the past, not really, right? You deal with it and you understand it, but you don't look back and you're afraid, not really. But the future, you're terrified of. You shouldn't be, should not be.
The only other thing I think was the weather this week. Mackie, I have to say, ever since we talked to Dane Wigington, that that news where they on the weather when they don't highlight or they don't mention all the temperatures on the map that are visible, and so if you're not really paying attention to the TV while they're reading the weather out, that you'll miss some of those extreme temperatures, and all you hear is the satisfying ones that are closer to averages. Plus, now it sounds to me, because I haven't heard anyone saying, it's 5 above average today. No one's saying the averages anymore. No one's saying the differential between the average and today's temperature.
No.
Either that they've lost count and they can't remember, which I doubt, or there's been some kind of gag order. I changed the channels and I couldn't find anyone talking about the quantity of differential over it. So I went onto the website. Extremely difficult to find on the Bureau of Meteorology's website. It's now not. It's even when you look at historical figures, it's not evident that's what you're going to be looking at. It took me ages, and I found the historical averages, and we're between 9 and 14 degrees above the average temperature in Australia right now. And today we had, I saw some chemtrails this morning, some long-standing, the plane had long gone, and yet there's that broadening chemtrail, spreading out. We don't normally see them, but it was evident today, and we had a really high UV. In fact, a very small amount of exposure to the sun today, and half an hour later, all you want to do is go to sleep, because it's like having radiotherapy.
It's draining. It's extremely draining, guys.
Extremely, yeah. And so my daughter's, even though she had sunscreen on, she still got burnt today.
Yeah.
At just the wrong time of the day to be out. Dreadful. So all I can say
It's
is
like
keep your eye on it.
Yeah, but sunscreen in Australia is like wearing a helmet when your parachute doesn't open from 50,000 feet. The helmet is not wearing you for protection. Okay. What's it going to do for you? Really, the helmet is going to help you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm stealing this from Seinfeld, by the way.
That's very funny, Mickey.
Right? So it is funny, right? But anyway, look. But having said that, do slip, slap, and slop in Australia. Wear the stuff, wear the hat. Hat is very important.
Yep.
And make sure you put the sunscreen on, even if it doesn't do anything. Having said that, though, I want to make one quick announcement. A friend of the show is putting on a concert for breast cancer research.
Awesome.
Beats for breast cancer. Yep. If you're in Sydney, I think it's sometime the first week of December. I might be there. Dave, maybe you as well. Don't know yet. I might send you a ticket.
We'll be signing autographs.
That's it. Sure, why not?
I had to put that out there one day.
If you bring a pen and paper, I'll sign whatever you like. So Beats for Breast Cancer, right? If you want to get tickets for it, it's at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. It's now called something else. It's going to be a great event. It's in aid of course, breast cancer research. I'm sure that some of the money will find its way to the actual research. So that's something to do if you are in Sydney at the beginning of December. And today's show very quickly, we're already halfway into it. Wow, this is half an hour into our show. It's good stuff, though. Some very good information. I hope you guys liked it. We're going to finish off MH370. We talked last week about TWA 800 due to popular request. Now, we shared with you our theories and what we found. I went through the passenger list this week, Dave,
Awesome.
at some length at different sites. I did not find anything odd. Now, if I have been led astray, and this is going to the chat room, I think a few people should be interested in this. If I have been led astray and there is something fishy with the passenger list, please let me know. I could not find it. I did not find any specific passengers of interest. If there are, please point them out to me, and we'll bring you that information in a future show. But I could not find anything fishy in TWA 800. Having said that, we're now going to share with you some information on MH370. We're going to finish that off. And then Dave and I will share with you why we do this.
Awesome.
Yeah? So we've got a whole bunch of stuff prepared for you around the greatest mysteries in science and the supernatural in the world today. And the simple answer why Dave and I do this is because there are these questions, right? And a lot of people just don't even know that there are questions. A lot of people think, oh, well, we've solved all the mysteries, maybe some are left, but, nothing earth-shattering. Well, nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and yet people believe that we have nothing to explore anymore. Now we're just consumers now, thank you very much. Well, not so. But that's after we talk about MH3, or conclude, I should say, MH370. No, Thunderbird, you can come to our channel on YouTube. Didn't miss it. Just go and listen to the show on David Danger's channel on YouTube, Shiny Side Out. Okay, so you didn't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, and we don't have the time to summarize, I'm afraid. Suffice it to say, though, one thing: it is clear to me that, in fact, it looks like it was shot down. Okay, very unlikely it wasn't. My opinion only, of course, not the station's, not Dave's, just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm going to agree with Meki on this. There is sufficient evidence to believe that it was shot down, that it wasn't a mishap, and but the explosion of the fuel tank, which never happened anywhere else, it seems like a secondary to the initial
Exactly.
hit. Yep.
Exactly. That's
There's
exactly
sufficient
right.
amount of evidence. So go through it. You'll find it. Just look for show 140, show 140.
Yeah. So we want to quickly share the theories for MH370 with you, and then we're going to bring you some information you probably don't know about, which makes me think, All right, just You can, of course, think whatever you like.
Yeah, there's
so
a song in that, Meki.
I know, right? They must. I think. No, I'll never do that again. Okay, so. There's some theories around MH370. We're going to share them with you. We're going to go them one by one. The first one is that it was shot down, and according to that theory, the Flight 370 was shot down, or could have been shot down, during a joint military exercise between the United States of America and Thailand in the South China Sea. This particular theory is advanced in a book called Flight MH370, The Mystery, by Nigel Cawthorne, who is a UK-based writer. Okay, and it's described as the greatest mystery since the Marie Celeste. In the book, of course. The drill was to involve mock warfare on land, in water, and in the air, and would include live-fire exercises, Mr. Cawthorne writes. Relatives of those on board MH370 have criticized the book as premature and insensitive. Too soon?
Too soon?
To make money off a tragedy?
No,
Yes, I think it is. Too
Meki,
soon.
come on.
Yes, I know, right?
Come
That's
on.
not good.
You can't blame the author. It's got to be the publishing company.
Sure. It wasn't Hitler's fault. It was all the people that gave him money.
It was the gun manufacturers.
Yes, that's who it was.
All right. Yes, don't get me. I don't believe me when I say that, guys. I'm just joking. Tongue planted firmly in cheek, okay? Number 2, terrorist hijacking. With the 13th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks just gone by on New York, as we know, Washington approaching... The conspiracy theorists, well, it was not approaching, it's been and gone. Conspiracy theorists have turned much of their focus to what some have dubbed the 9/11-14 theory. I like that. It's not October 31st anymore, Meki. We can say 9/11-14.
I know we can.
This theory again, utterly devoid of proof, nonetheless, widely circulated on the internet, suggests that Flight 370 did not crash, but is in fact being prepared for use in a terrorist spectacular. I love that this is obviously written by a journo that will coincide with the anniversary of the attacks of the World Trade Center. Well, as we saw, that did not happen. Among those throwing his weight around behind the theory is Christopher Green from a group called Alternative Media Television. I know I follow him on YouTube, AMTV. He questioned it. He didn't actually say that that's what happened. He raised the question: what happens if another plane goes down or goes missing? In one YouTube video, which has been viewed nearly 320,000 times, he suggests a terrorist or even a rogue state may have hijacked that. He's alluding to China, possibly. Hijacked 370 and could now be retrofitting this plane, arming it with nuclear bomb for an attack later. It could literally destroy and blow up an entire American city. Right? This. I mean, it's like I said, theories are good. Theories,
yes,
you have to have them. You've got to make worst case scenarios. It's very important, because otherwise, what if it did come true, and they said, well, why didn't you think of that? And they go, oh,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know. So in defense of someone coming up with this, and I did see that exact video, and this was still in the early days of it. So Mr. Green accuses the media of being complicit in the largest conspiracy that we have ever seen. The largest flight conspiracy since 9/11 terrorist attack.
Yes, sir.
I could talk for hours on this one. I won't, but what I will say is this was just one of the conspiracies we listed. Mackie and I talked about this at length. We said, okay, what do you think could possibly have gone wrong?
Yeah, totally.
You know, so he's not alone. I don't think the guy's doing anything harmful. Not like I told you it was a journo that wrote it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they defended themselves.
I tell you. Mm-hmm. Rightio. Now, the next one is probably a little stranger yet. It's the plane switch theory.
Oh, the old plane switch.
One of its main backers is Jim Stone. He's an independent journalist and has got his own website with the motto "Truth is reality, which lies and inventions fall to in the end." If that were true, that would be nice. Mr. Stone proposes that it was Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 and not Flight 17 that was shot down over the Ukraine in July. Now, there's little explanation as to why you would switch planes or how it could have been achieved. And he doesn't also say what happened to the real MH370. However, he says Flight 370 had to be gotten rid of and people needed to be disposed of. Actually, we mentioned that as well, to be honest with you, as an outlying theory when this first happened. Mm-hmm. And now, somewhat confusingly, Mr. Stone also argues that the downed plane, which he refers to by both designations, was actually shot down as part of a Mossad plot to hide the dirty business going on in Gaza.
Oh, that's
Mr.
the
Stone also,
second thought.
Yeah. Mr. Stone also claims to have received additional information to suggest the recent plane crash which killed Eduardo Campos, the Brazilian presidential candidate, was murder. Mm-hmm. They nailed both engines because the plane could fly with only one, he claims. Again, not a lot of evidence around there, but again, these theories are interesting and important. Well, at least they make you think, right?
Okay, so he's got three things in there, right? Number one, the Malaysian Airlines flight was 17 was in fact 370. So they parked it, did what they wanted to, change the paint from the 9M MRO to 9M MRC, which was what it was supposed to have been. So, as we know, I think MRD was meant to be 17. MRO was 370. And if you stay with me, guys, and that would have been enough time to be able to paint those, that change on. And I like this theory that it was swapped. I'm not sure that I have any evidence myself to believe that it occurred, except that I'm of the opinion that the entire Ukraine, Russian separatist thing was there just to create the space to have the plane on the ground so no one could get to it. Yeah. So I know right now in the media there's a whole bunch of information saying that they're negotiating to remove the wreckage now. Yeah, it's been long enough. Some also said that the flight contained people who were already deceased before they hit the ground. There's a couple of reports from that. If these people can go and be filmed by people, why couldn't the wreckage be removed when it was? Anyway, so that was half of that story. The other half was that it was shot down. We covered that the two trucks that it takes to be able to fire one of those missiles. One's a radar truck, and there's at least 4 people controlling it. There's at least 4 people required to be in control of the missile truck. Those trucks to talk to each other on the battlefield, and you can't operate one without the other one. And so the level of intelligence that's required to operate that and training is quite high. It's not something you can just pick up a little leaflet inside there or a plastic card and it says, this is congratulations on your purchase of a whatever it was again, I forget. We also saw information leading towards there being Putin in his plane flying over the same portion of airspace less than 40 minutes prior. 40 minutes could disappear on a battlefront pretty quickly, so it could very well have been the Ukrainians that shot the plane down. I don't know. I don't have any of the evidence. I'm simply stating what could have possibly happened. So, like I said, I don't want everyone out there to hate us for coming up with these things and stating these things in today's show, because we're saying them on air. I don't hate us for that. If you've got your own opinion, that's great. I like it. Email Meki or myself and let us know what those are. I'd be happy to hear any evidence you may have. I think Dabu7 found some interesting evidence to do with the video that was posted, meant to be the Russian general talking to the guy who fired the missile, and that was found to have been posted onto YouTube the day before that the plane was shot down. So that looked like it was faked and ready to go and distributed to everyone. I'm just saying. So if they're so lousy as to have put this together in such a bad way, then that reeks of a conspiracy. That's all I'm saying. If all the facts fell into place nice and neat, then we wouldn't have any means to question anything, and therefore there wouldn't be a conspiracy and we wouldn't have to continue discussion about it. It's just a shame. It's such a shame that they do this. All right. So what's the other one? This was one of my favorites. It came out pretty quick after the plane went missing. And this is the island landing. In the days and weeks following the plane's disappearance, one of the most commonly heard conspiracy theories was that it had landed at Diego Garcia, which is the otherwise known as the British Indian Ocean Territory, and it's smack bang in the middle of, let me just add this, add screen region, let me just click on that, there we go. So right in the middle of here, and I think you can see the mouse moving. So this is the British Indian Ocean Territory right here. All right, it's a tiny little military island. Oh, there you saw the title for a second. Oh well, so that's it. It's highly it's not unlikely. It's to be honest, it's not unlikely. But when you say that the plane left here for here, it was meant to fly from here. That's 4,600 kilometers. 4,600. That's it. Planes don't carry extra fuel. They right now. I saw a story last week that the one airline company has decided to rip out all of the hardware, the screens and everything from the back of the seats, and provide iPads or something similar, a tablet, just to save weight in the plane, because that weight saves fuel, and every bit of fuel you carry has to have more fuel to carry that weight. And so they don't like that, and it costs them money. So if it was to fly from here, watch the mouse on the screen, all the way up to Beijing, but it didn't, and it only got to here, there's enough fuel for it to make it over here. And the Sumatrans said, up here, before it made a hooked left and came back down, they said a large plane had flown low over their island, and it's more than likely it's within the same flight distance. However, what isn't in the same flight distance is to take off, come over here, fly straight down, and keep going in some weird curve that doesn't make any sense why it would curve under autopilot and land somewhere down here in the southern Indian Ocean. Because that distance to get down to the southern Indian Ocean, Meki, as you well know, it requires an extra 2,600 kilometres worth of fuel. And that's so unlikely. However, the Diego Garcia, or as it's known as the British Indian Ocean Territory, was within its flight distance. But Meki proved shortly after that anyway that it could have flown anywhere into lower Europe, and could possibly, because of the flight distance radius, it could possibly have made it maybe as far as the Middle East. Maybe as far as Middle East. My thoughts, in fact, are just that it landed in Cambodia and there was some other plot going on. All right? But that's just me, and I'm gonna move on. Meki's back in his seat again. So this theory about it landing there gained so much traction that US officials were forced to deny it. Now, Meki, what happens when the military starts to deny something? It means it's real.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah, I know. And so there was no indication that MH370 flew anywhere near the Maldives, except that's not true. There was eyewitness accounts of it flying low over the Maldives. There's no witnesses that aren't paid by the military in Diego Garcia, so there's no evidence from an eyewitness perspective. But MH370 has been reported as it did not land there. That's what an official said from the US Embassy. So even so, that theory has not entirely gone away, not at least in China, home to 153 of Flight 370's passengers, families. Yeah? And that's the most important part. They're still blaming everybody. At the moment, there hasn't been anything solid, but I'll say a Chinese blogger continues to insist that MH370 mystery was the result of a CIA special operation to gain some control of special person or special object on the plane. That's also very, very plausible. He claims that the plane was forced to land at Diego Garcia, which explains why relatives believe the mobile phones of their loved ones were still ringing in the hours following the plane's disappearance. And that I think I heard maybe 5 or 7 rings when they were being called. Yeah. And if they're off the network, they're registered as off the network, so they don't ring. Usually go straight to voicemail. You only get one shot at it. Once it's registered off the network, it's gone. There, MH370 was dismantled inside an aircraft hammer, this is what he believes, before being burned and dumped in the sea. At the moment, we still haven't seen evidence for that, but the clear matter that they're scanning the sea floor for something and looking in an area that's never been scanned before, as Meki brought up last week, that they're just advantageous, taking advantage of these ships. Have a look there. We wondered if it was oil, but we don't know. Let's look at the sea floor for any irregularities. Don't know. At the moment, we don't know anything about that, except for that photo that rose up, Meki, with the information. But we'll get to that a bit later in the show. I showed them a map, Meki. I've got the Google map open. I showed the distance. Brilliant. And my calculations for the flight distance I've already mentioned.
Yeah. So look, Diego Garcia is a possibility. Did you mention what happened here as far as the potential picture that was sent from Diego Garcia?
No, except for later on. I know we covered a bit later.
Yep.
But with the EXIF data and stuff like that. But that's to support.
We still?
Yeah, we still have to get down to that. We're only at number
gotcha,
5.
Gotcha. So that's Diego Garcia. Now Diego Garcia has interesting things, as Dave has just shared with you. The final theory we want to share with you here is the unknown weapon. Now, Mike Adams, who is a veteran conspiracy theorist, runs a website called The Natural News. Okay, and he states 48 hours after the disaster, this is what he said: "There are some astonishing things you're not being told about Malaysia Airlines Flight 370." Okay, so his explanation for how MH370 utterly and inexplicably vanished is this: it was not a hijacking or in fact a mid-air explosion, but possibly the work of some entirely new, mysterious, and powerful force capable of plucking airplanes out of the sky without leaving behind even a shred of evidence. If there is such a weapon in existence, whoever controls it already has the ability to dominate all of the Earth's nations. I agree with that. Now, that thought is actually a lot more scary than just mechanical failure or even terrorism attacks, right? Now, just two things here. One. Disappearances without a trace are not new. They're new in our age of the black box and all that, the flight recorders. They're not new in relation to the Devil's Sea, in the South China Sea and the Bermuda Triangle. Not new. There are other spots in the world where things and people disappear without a trace. No, that's number one. Number two, totally. Yeah. Number two. I went to 25 years ago, maybe. I went to a born again Christian lecture, which was fascinating because it touched on the end times and different research. And this guy Barry Smith was talking about a weapon called the velocity factor of 7. I've since heard, it's 25 years later, mind you, I've since heard references to it. Not entirely sure what that weapon is or how it works, but it could very well be a weapon of this kind of magnitude or capability, if you will, that makes things vanish into nothing, essentially. Right now, Barry Smith is dead, but if you want to look at his research, it is fascinating. I don't care if you're Christian or not. The research stands on its own, and it's a very, very, very interesting research. I myself do not share his belief system, but I certainly was very interested in his research.
Mackie, now, I wanted to also state there that there were a couple more theories, and certainly the IP theft, and that they were doing a military demonstration of cloaking the payload or the cargo hold. They had 1.5 tons of lithium-ion batteries, which is very strange. It's not normally allowed to travel on a commercial airline. It has to be prepared in a certain way, and that apparently wasn't done. So whether or not it itself, those batteries, were the power source for their experiment, that's unknown. But certainly the new owner, the Rothschilds, the new owner of the IP since all of Freescale was pretty much all the IP owners from Freescale were on board. It does stand to reason that they wouldn't want that to fall into the hands of the enemy. That's all I can say. Mickey, take the Garcia.
Okay, very good. So Diego Garcia, guys, is a theory that I'm going to spend a little bit of time with you, and I'm going to take you on a journey here until the end of the first half of the show. So Dave has shared with you where it is, what it is. It's a military airbase, United States military. It's about 1,700 personnel stationed there, and about 1,500 civilian contractors live there as well. Okay, it's in the middle of nowhere, if you will. And now the theory became the subject of speculation when we found out that the MH370's pilot, Zahari Shah, his flight simulator, in fact, had the Diego Garcia's runway location stored in it. Okay, so that's when it sort of began. American freelance journalist Jim Stone is also advocating the theory that the flight might have landed on Diego Garcia Island. Okay, he claims that Philip Wood, and this is the interesting bit here, Philip Wood is actually a passenger, okay, an American passenger who was traveling on the missing flight. He managed to send a message, or at least that's the theory. Now the message was sent. Information including GPS coordinates that presented a location that is just, in fact, a few hundred meters outside the Diego Garcia base itself. So not on Diego Garcia base proper, but a few hundred meters away from it on the island. The text revealed that Philip Wood was being held hostage by some unknown military personnel, and that's according to news.com.au. Now, apparently Philip Wood is an IBM engineer, and the Examiner further explained that Jim Stone's Diego Garcia conspiracy theory goes into more detail. So the theory states that the intention behind taking the plane is concerning 20 top employees of Freescale Semiconductors Incorporated. We shared this information with you. These people apparently worked on the development of semiconductors, and they were soon going to get it patented. Apparently, one of the patent holders or one of the financiers is a Rothschild interest. If the other patent holders die, the patent falls to the surviving patent holder. Okay? Now,
That's
it's actually
rules,
where Jacob...
that's the rules of patent, yeah.
Correct, and it's in fact Jacob Rothschild who was one of, the surviving patent holder, if you will, okay? Now, okay, so, however, a Metabank, which I will share with you as well, a Metabank, which is a debunking site, suggests that it is not difficult to fake a mobile phone's GPS coordinates and denies the truth behind the Diego Garcia conspiracy theory. Fair enough. Now, News.com notes that the information of missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 suggests the plane ended in the southern Indian Ocean, which is, the location of Diego Garcia. Now, however, I want to share with you what Metabank says. So Metabank says this. The entire theory rests on the claim, this is the theory that the plane actually landed on Diego Garcia, on the claim that the EXIF data, which is actually data that contains the GPS information, proves the location. This claim has been debunked, apparently, because it demonstrates that EXIF data can be easily changed. Okay? So, what Metabank says, essentially, is this. It is all fake, and it is easy to fake the data, right? Therefore, it must be fake. Now, no, they're not giving us a reason as to why it was faked, or who would have faked it, or what the point is, right? But fair enough, they're saying it's easy enough to do, so, maybe it is a fake. I can live with that. There's just one thing that is really troubling here.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
And I will share. Yeah. So Philip Wood actually has a girlfriend, and her name is Sarah Bajk. I'm not sneezing. It's actually Sarah Bajk. And she has received death threats, and the FBI is now investigating. So I want to share this news article with you, which was posted May 11, 2014. May 11, 2014, right? And it was posted news.com.au. You can. I'm gonna put the link into the chat, and of course the link is part of our show notes as well. So you might not have heard of this. So I'm saying, okay, well, fair enough. It was faked, So Philip Woods, specifically him, right? Didn't send the message, and someone else changed the GPS data within the EXIF file. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, since I'm going to share the article with you, since flight MH370 vanished, life hasn't been the same for one of the passengers' girlfriends, who has been robbed, had a death threat, and bizarre phone calls. Sarah Bajk has revealed she has also been robbed twice. But neither she nor the FBI can explain how this series of frightening incidents are linked to her partner Philip Wood, who went missing on the plane. All she knows is that they started after the plane went missing, and whoever is behind the incidents have left her very upset. Bajk told NBC News that she got an instant message warning, "I'm going to come and kill you next," about 2 weeks after MH370 disappeared. The phone calls came from a China-based number, and once an FBI agent assigned to help her and Wood's family was alerted to the strange calls, they stopped. Targeted Sarah Bajk and her American boyfriend Philip Wood. I mean, that's really strange, right? Now, apparently a number of pornographic images and phone calls were also received from the same phone number. Okay, now she says it was just extremely upsetting, naturally, Now, Bajk claims the phone calls and messages started after her apartment was robbed for the first time, 2 weeks after MH370 officially went missing. So her apartment was also robbed after the plane went missing. Mm-hmm. Whoever came wasn't very careful because I'm a real neat freak. So it was immediately apparent to me that some things had been moved, she said. Now, nothing had been stolen, really, right? But things had been moved around.
Yep.
Her housekeeper was out of town, so it couldn't have been her, and he got home before her son got back. The password on her safe had been reset, which happens when you try the wrong code 3 times. Mm-hmm. The second time was a couple of weeks later, and her neighbor saw 2 people leaving her apartment. She has no illusions of privacy here. That was in Beijing. So so Bajik was preparing to move from Beijing to live with her partner, Philip Wood. Now, okay, so here's what I'm saying. Okay, I don't know why. Obviously, Philip Wood was going to see it. I mean, the plane was on the way to Beijing. Right? In case you didn't notice, it was en route to Beijing. So she is in Beijing. So she had these threatening messages. The FBI came to investigate, but this is the only story I found about passengers' relatives that have had this happen to them. So Philip Wood sends a message, right, with GPS location of Diego Garcia. It's the only message that we received with a location like that. And then his girlfriend is threatened, harassed, broken into twice apparently, right? And yet Metabank tells me that, well, you can easily fake the GPS data, and I get it. I'm sure you can, right? But just because you can do something doesn't mean you do it.
And it doesn't mean it was done.
Correct. It could be a real thing. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because it just doesn't make sense. It's very strange that just her. It was just her that was being singled out like this for, I don't know, retribution. I have no idea, right? So it is just a very, very strange piece of the puzzle that doesn't seem to fit with the debunking story.
Well,
okay,
that's right. And when I kept reading the debunking on it, on the EXIF data, all I kept seeing them repeat over and over again is that you can fake it.
Yeah, you can. That's it. That's boom. There you go.
It didn't mean that the photo was faked or that the information on the photo was faked. It just means that it's possible to fake it. So remember, these are the people who, I don't know, you've got to do it 10,000 times in front of them with them helping for them to believe it. And in argument for the EXIF data, you know what? I'm going to put it in the maybe pile. That's me.
Yep.
That's the way a true scientific mind would accept that as information.
Ooh, there's the break.
Perfectly timed. We'll see you on the other side of the break, guys. Hold tight. I love Hawk's guitar. It's fantastic.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs, government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
There is no denying the world is awakening. We see it in the global uprisings and demonstrations of the people around the planet and the new way of thinking and living that is arising naturally within each one of us and our communities. I have been a major player in this global shift and movement for over 20 years and have helped tens of thousands of people around the world change their lives and find their voice in order to help create the paradigm change we so desperately need. Join me here at Revolution Radio on the Just Bernard Show every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time for 2 hours of powerful interviews and discussion with some of the most influential visionaries of consciousness, alternative media, and suppressed knowledge. We promise to reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. If you plan to call in and speak with one of our hosts, please turn down your radio and separate yourself from any background noise and wait for the area code to be called on before you speak. And don't forget, Revolution Radio freedomslips.com is listener supported. So stop by the homepage, freedomslips.com, visit the site support area to help support the host you're listening to's airtime. Thank you. Revolution Radio freedomslips.com, where the truth never sleeps. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back to Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out. This is the second half of show number 141, 141, 140, and 100. And please realize that this is listener-supported radio. In fact, the station is the biggest listener-supported radio station on the net, freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. And if you have a few spare dollars, please go and donate. It's actually in the chat room if you wanted to, on the left-hand side, or you go to the Revolution Radio site itself. You can also go to our website, shinysideout.net. It has a link to Revolution Radio, and any donation is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. And we still have quite a bit to go. I think we're halfway to the goal for this month, so please do help out. We are currently we have finished off TWA 800 as well as MH370, and we're now going to bring to you why we do this show. I mean, why do Dave and Mackie spend their Sunday afternoons and evenings now? 2 hours talking to a whole bunch of people that may or may not care. Now we know you care, of course you do. And the bunkers for that matter, So why do we do it? I mean, what's the point? And there's a very simple answer, really. I mean, it's the mysteries. It's the questions. It's the things that haven't been solved yet. It is all the things that go bump in the night. It's the splinter in the mind. It is everything that upsets you, and it's the red herrings. It's the enigma that is life. Okay, it is also the fact that other people don't want us to know. We're pretty sure about that. Right, Dave?
Yes. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The old whodunit, which is a term used in the television media, and book and film media for that matter, where there's a mystery to solve and the reader is kept unawares of it, or the watcher of the TV or the movie. Awesome. It's captivating, I have to say, number one. Captivating, and it's captured both Meki and I all our lives when we're confronted with so many questions out there. And I think the media themselves, outside of the whodunit shows, series and cycles and books and everything, I think that the media has maybe let their side down because as you know, civilization is evolving with the me generation now, Meki, yeah?
Yes, sir.
We're seeing a lot of people being polarized, I think being rejected by the media and let down by them. And
Yes.
Certainly from a consumer point of view, the media should be unbiased, matter of fact, and unfiltered. That's
Yes.
what we both wholly believe in, yeah?
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to just say free speech, because free speech is the right of the individual, I believe. But the media outlets should be trustworthy, should not be paid. You know, Meki, I'm going to tell you something. In the olden days with black and white TV, and did you know that the media itself, the news outlets, weren't funded by anybody? They were cross-subsidized by the successful shows like I Love Lucy and not MASH, not so much MASH in those days, but you know, those things of the time. And we've seen a huge shift to now their corporate sponsorship of the news.
Yes.
Yeah, they can tell them to pull a story if it happens to be in the sponsor's best interest to have it pulled.
Yes.
That's not fair and balanced reporting, right? And then, of course, you get to the blame of the specific media outlet who doesn't portray both sides of the story evenly, so it's not balanced. But
The evening news brought to you by Fluoroid on Monsanto.
That's right. And Halliburton ads in between, owned by Halliburton. So this is a funny thing. This is why we got into it, because there are so many things that are left unanswered, and I don't believe that there are answers that we're going to hear from those outlets. Yeah? So
Correct.
We've got to do our own investigation, and the best we can find out more and be able to collate it, work it out, sift through it, make it in piles, and derive our best outcome from the way the piles look in the end. That's what Mickey and I love to do. I've got a long history in doing that. I was the too hard basket at a company we both worked for. Where nothing could be solved, they give it to me and I'd solve it. Pretty easy. I've got the knack. I know Meki has the knack. We've got the skill set for this, and we investigate as far as we can on anything we can. But that's not to say, I have to say, it's not to say that there are some authentic news outlets. There are some ways of being able to get information. I'm not painting them all with the same brush, right? But you have to be discerning. And it's that moment, Meki, when the people themselves, as individuals, it's like, you know, Neo taking the red or the blue pill. It's like their eggshell around them being cracked, and they can suddenly see light is outside. All of the people who have described their sudden awakening from the me generation, where it's all about me and I don't care about anyone else, as long as I consume, I'm good. I'm a good consumer. I got my credit card up nice and reasonably high. I'm doing everything I need to do because I get everything I want. But I mean, what do I really want? Only what they tell me I want.
Yeah.
So pardon me. So when the people realise that that's not what life is all about, and that people interaction is more important, and this is when they start to listen. And there's a lot of people out there, a lot of the shock jockey kind of people who are bringing conspiracy theories out, and that will get there, that'll spark their interest. And once they're through that door, they find us. They find us, they find other hosts, you know, and guess what? We're doing that for them. And we can, as similar to the me generation, they can tune into us, they can do what they want, and we can do that, you know, all week. You heard at the beginning, at the top of the show, Meki and I was like, what are you doing? Oh, all week I was looking through stuff. That's really hard for an individual to get a good, clear direction on something. You know, what do you believe? What don't you believe? Or obviously, you can't believe everything on YouTube. You can't believe everything on the internet.
You can try.
You can try. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. So you look to other independent news outlets. You look for one line, one phrase in a sentence that could be the very key phrase that suggests that they're trying to conceal something. That's where I come in, and the way that people word something intentionally is usually to conceal.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just free flowing, and you can read free flowing. But when you hear that one phrase, hunt it down. Meki.
I'm with you, mate. Look, before we get started, I want to have some thoughts for you guys, not from ourselves, but we want to give you some quotes around questions and the role of science and human inquiry. Look, this is what we are as a species. This is how we do things. You know, we stick our hand into the hole to see if there's a snake, right? That's just who we are. And we need to understand, we need to find out, and nothing worse than holding us back from that. So in the spirit of this, we're going to give you some quotes. We're going to take them in tandem. Now, this is the first one. In question of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. I do not feel obliged to believe that the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use. And you know who said that? Galileo Galilei.
Wow. I wish this was a guessing game where people could tweet in what they thought, who they thought made the quote, you know. This is obviously a really well-known quote. I like this one too. There must be no barriers to freedom of inquiry. There is no place for dogma in science. The scientist is free and must be free to ask any question, to doubt assertion, to seek for any evidence, and to correct any errors. That's Robert J. Oppenheimer.
That's right. The next one. The human mind is not capable of grasping the universe. We are like little children entering a huge library. The walls are covered to the ceilings with books in many different tongues. The child knows that someone must have written these books. It does not know who or how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. But the child notes a definite plan in the arrangement of the books, a mysterious order which it does not comprehend, but only dimly suspects. That's a beautiful analogy, in fact. And that was by the one and only Mr. Albert Einstein. Now, you've got some fairly big heavyweights here who have given you some insight into their thinking, into what they think about us as well. And in the spirit of this, in the spirit of what these great men, and I'm sorry that there was no female quote here, what these great men have said, let us look at some of the mysteries still remaining in the world today. Some might surprise you, and I don't think we'll be able to get through it today. Some might surprise you, some you may know about, others you go, what? I thought we knew all about that. Now, well, the answer is no, we probably didn't. And in fact, we do not. So I'll get us cracking here, and then Dave and we'll take them in tandem, so you guys don't get bored to death with my nasally voice.
Do you know what, Mickey? I don't think that ever happened.
Oh, well, you know, it could. Shall we do voices today? Well, we could. But then our listeners will probably think we are taking the Mickey, not the Mickey. We're not. So this is serious stuff. This is. You can look it up for yourselves if you like. All the links are, again, posted in the show notes. So, first one. Why does pain hurt? That's a fairly, inane question, isn't it? But it isn't. Pain is uncomfortable, okay? But it is a universal human experience, okay? It's one of the first things we encounter in life, okay? And in fact, it's our first experience with the medical establishment when the doctor yanks us out of our mother, okay? And starts calling us income. Now, it will be one of the last. You just got that, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's really funny. They spank us on the bottom to ensure that we take our first breath in.
That's right. Well, that's true, right? That's the and still being done, by the way.
Yep.
It'll also be one of our last experiences. Okay, when we inevitably leave this terrestrial valley of death. Okay, but do we know what pain is? Do we know how it works? And in fact, does it feel the same for everybody? Right? I mean, do you experience the same pain as your neighbor, or your brother, or your sister, or your friend? Okay. Now, if you both hurt the same, that's unfair, isn't it? Because someone deserves a lot worse than you, or someone deserves a lot less. But the answer is we don't know the answers to these questions. Okay, science has no idea either. We just don't know what how it works or what it is. Okay, we can't agree on a single definition of pain. In fact, believe it or not. Okay, doctors can't, scientists can't. People that designed the drugs to treat your pain don't even know what it is. Now, there's actually a very interesting condition that might illustrate what we're talking about. It's called fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia. Okay, and that's a medical condition that essentially is everything hurts. Like so you've got constant, consistent pain everywhere. Okay, my everything hurts. Fibromyalgia. There are no physical tests to confirm whether you have it. Okay, there's no brain scan, there's no blood test, there's nothing at all that science can do to find out whether you have this condition. So how do you diagnose it, right? So you fill out a questionnaire is what you do. Okay. Do you have a lot of unexplained pains in various parts of your body that your doctors can't figure out? Yes. Right. Bingo. You've got fibromyalgia. Okay. Or, demonic possession. But, we're not talking about that.
I like the next one.
Aliens. Because aliens. Now, the FDA, for you guys in the States, has approved drugs to treat fibromyalgia. Okay? Because they seem to help. But no one knows why. Or even if you actually have anything that could be treated by those drugs. Okay? Now, this is where science fiction comes to life. Okay? Now, you would think there's some kind of high-tech brain, a scan that doctors can use to determine whether you're in pain, right? Now, doctors can say there are differences in the brain scans of people with fibromyalgia, but there's nothing consistent from patient to patient. Okay? So the doctor can't actually look inside your skull and definitely say that you have the condition. In fact, no doctor can tell you how much pain you're in at any given time. Okay? Because we've only just started understanding and figuring out how to detect pain in a person's brain activity. Okay? Now,
because it just looks like brain activity.
Yeah, that's right. We don't know.
It's indistinguishable.
No, it's incredible, in fact, right? Now, according to Tor Wager, who is an associate professor for psychology and neuroscience at CU Boulder, he says the following: right now, there is no clinically acceptable way to measure pain and other emotions other than to ask a person how they feel. That's why when you go to the doctor, general practitioner, whatever, they will ask you a whole bunch of stuff because they just don't know. They can't just scan you and find out stuff. They need to ask you, well, where does it hurt? Well, you're the doctor. You tell me. No, you have to tell me where it hurts and what kind of symptoms do you have. They ask these questions for a reason. They can't just scan you or look at you and know about it. Right?
No,
this is
right.
I don't know if you know this, guys, but I find it fascinating.
There are people who suffer chronic pain. It's an endless pain for apparently no reason, where there's no nerve damage or anything. I feel sorry for them because there isn't much hope in fixing it, and that this new thing that I've heard about is just incredible, Mickey. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know there was a term for it, but I was acutely aware that there was no way of detecting where the pain was or its intensity. Had no clue.
Yep.
Just amazing. The next question I think is fantastic, and it relates directly to the previous one, and you'll get it in a minute. It's, why does anesthesia work? And it's an amazing thing, I have to say. So anesthesiology is a whole medical profession to itself, and it's a truly a miracle of modern science. But it's more than just a little scary when you think about it. With a few random chemicals, obviously they've been researched over a lot of time, but seemingly random chemicals, anesthesiologists effectively shut down chunks of your brain. Too much, and you'll never wake up. Not enough, and you're actually... not enough, and I love this quote, and you're reliving a past life as a Civil War soldier or receiving the end of a hacksaw surgery. Yeah? So in those days, they would make you drink a number of chugs of half a bottle of some whiskey or something, put a piece of leather in your mouth to bite on, and they'd hack your leg off.
Off the leg comes.
That's right. What? My throat was sore.
Well, off the leg comes.
And so,
This is science, okay?
It is. I also remember in those days that there wasn't any antibacterial and no antibiotics, and so you even if you cut yourself shaving, you could die of an infection. But why do these chemicals work? And how do they interact with your body in such a way as to achieve the delicate balance of keeping you alive but asleep, and you don't feel the pain? So like for instance, a full anesthetic. Well, do you know what? They don't know. They honestly don't know. Basically, anesthesia has evolved over a past couple of hundred years by the way of medical professionals saying, here, pump some of this into that guy over there, and we'll see what happens. And if he's still screaming, it wasn't enough. Or try some of this. So I remember it wasn't morphine, it was the other one. What would they put onto a cloth, Mecky, and put over someone's... Chloroform. So chloroform it works in both humans and plants. Did you know?
Actually, yes, I did. Amazing, isn't it?
I think I flicked you that thing about the plant.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So a recent finding was that they don't even know why it works in humans, let alone why it works in plants. But plants are also affected by chloroform. What it does, it dulls the nerve, the communication of the nerves to the brain, or wherever it's going in a plant. Yeah, so that's what it basically does. Unfortunately, that can cause you to have all sorts of problems. So why do they dim? I have to say anything from complex steroids to straight lungfuls of xenon gas, but as to why these substances dim your consciousness without turning it off altogether, or killing you is still unknown, except for the quantity. Remember, half the things in medicine today, by the way, it's going to kill you if you have too much of it. Even aspirin, Panadol, any of the things you take for a light headache, for instance, any of those, any of those kind of medicines, there's a very fine line between having just enough to do what it's supposed to do and it killing you. Okay, so and that includes X-rays. Believe it or not, they're not safe. It also includes radiation therapy and radiotherapy.
In fact, iatrogenic death is the third leading cause of death in the United States. So that's about 225,000 deaths per year. And iatrogenic death means death by doctor.
Oh boy.
In case you wanted to know, there you go. Right?
Yeah, thanks. That's why you sign a waiver when you go in, by the way, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we know that we can look at the presence of brain waves, physical responses, and they can currently see that there's something, but they can't measure it. It's not measurable. And I just think that's an awesome thing, Mackie. A great question. How does it work? Don't know. Puts you to sleep.
No idea.
It's all good.
Indeed. Now, the next one. In fact, that's probably good for me, right? Why do we laugh?
Yeah, he's a shiny side out, Dr. Hibbert.
Right? It's fatal. Now, we don't actually know, right? Some think it's a signal that a suspected threat isn't actually a threat, so it's like a signal that you give to the rest of the clan, the tribe, the family, whatever. Some think it's a reaction to a result that it, being different from what you expected, so like an unexpected event, okay? And others think, and this is not my joke, but others think it's because Jim Carrey is talking with his butt. Okay, and that's not normally how people talk.
See, that
right?
made me laugh. See, that's
right. Boom, right. In fact, Freud believed there was a defense mechanism. Okay, if you believe the Freudian school of thought there, where laughter is a psychological barrier that you build around yourself. Now they're all kind of correct, right? Because nobody knows for certain why we laugh, right? We do know though that. Laughter affects all kinds of areas in your brain, more than any other emotional response. Okay, so it's a very stimulating emotional response for your brain. Even the motor sections, so people that control the areas that control your movement. More surprising, however, is the fact that our laughter isn't related to comedy at all. Okay, so studies have shown that less than 20% of laughter happens as a result of something being funny. Far more often we're laughing to punctuate innocuous statements, like me, like Dr. Hibbert, okay? To fill pauses in conversation, kind of dead air, right? Or because our, maybe our elaborate evil plan is finally coming to fruition. There you have it, right? Boom, there you go, right? Now, one thing we do know, probably though, is how laughing came about. It evolved from the panting that primates do during hardcore tickle sessions. You might have seen chimpanzees or orangutans or gorillas panting, right? If you've seen that, yeah, okay. Now, this leads to the question then, why are we ticklish in the first place? Which leads to an inevitable answer. No idea. No idea. Why are we ticklish? Why do we laugh? No idea.
Do you know what? Two things. You can't tickle yourself. It's impossible. Even on your knees, you can't tickle yourself. It filters into the unexpected experience. Is part of that answer, but I don't have the actual answer. I'm posing something. And the other thing was, Meki, I had to say when you were talking about why do we laugh, it's extraordinary when children learn what laughing is, where they learn how a joke, what is a joke, and when they laugh as a response to a joke. And one of those things, the elements in that is that they understand what the rules are, they understand what right and wrong is, and one of the reasons it seems to be for laughing, as you've mentioned all the other ones, and that is that it goes against what they know to be the normal thing, or it goes against what is right, and in a joke that can be extremely funny. So I just love that one. One of my children has just discovered the essence of a joke and not laughing because other people are laughing. Very funny. It's like the birth of a comedian. It's very, very good to see. Sorry, I didn't have a tear in my eyes. It's nice. Okay. This question, I don't quite agree with the question itself because I think there's inherently an error in it, and I'll still pose it to everyone. I want everyone to understand what the question is, and the question is comes from physics. Why is there more matter than antimatter?
Now, I want to be clear though, Dave. These are questions that exist in mainstream science today.
That's right.
Right. So this is not necessarily something, or these are not statements that Dave or I agree with.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Yep. So, thanks, man. According to our current understanding of particle physics, matter and antimatter are equal but opposite. When they meet, they should destroy one another and leave nothing left over. It's complete annihilation of both elements. However, there was enough matter left over to make the billions and billions of galaxies, stars, planets, and everything else. So where is all of the antimatter? You would imagine that they would, to cancel them all out, they'd have to have an equal amount, and I think that's a great question. Various explanations around mesons, which are short-lived subatomic particles made of one quark and one anti-quark called B mesons, decay more slowly than anti-B meson, which could have resulted in enough B mesons surviving to create all the matter in the universe. Additionally, the B, D, and K mesons can oscillate and become antiparticles and back again. But like I said, I don't agree with the question. I think that the antimatter and dark matter and all that is just because their equations are wrong and they're making it to fill up space. I believe, in fact, that's quite the opposite. I believe that the quantity of matter in the universe is large because there are other universes. There's a multiverse. Yeah.
Look, that's I agree with Dave there, and I think there's even and there seems to be a bleed between these dimensional realities. If you haven't seen the movie Interstellar, I suggest you do.
That's just out now, isn't it, Mickey?
Yeah, I actually went last night. It's a time investment. It's 3 hours. So make sure you take some popcorn with you. But it is very, very interesting, and the philosophical as well as I guess the science is all sound. Okay, guys, the science is sound up until the point when you find out what might be inside a super massive black hole. Then it's all entirely speculation, of course. But up to that point, I can assure you the science is sound. Okay, now. Where's all the lithium? That's every morning I wake up, Dave, and I say, "Where is that lithium? Where did it go?" Right?
No, I
Don't
do
you?
the same thing.
That's crazy.
Where
Most
is
of
it
our
all?
listeners probably don't. But here we go. So early in the universe, right? When, according to the theory, again, we're talking about theories here, guys. According to the theory, early in the universe, temperature was very, very high. Isotopes of hydrogen, helium, and lithium were synthesized in abundance. Hydrogen and helium are still incredibly abundant and make up nearly all of the mass in the universe. We know that hydrogen, in fact, is the most abundant element in the universe.
Yep.
Most abundant, right? Though there's only about a third of the lithium-7 that we should see. So it's only 30% of what should be there. Now, according to the theory and the math. There are a wide variety of explanations for why this might have happened, including some theories involving hypothetical bosons known as axions, and others believe it is trapped in the core of stars, which our current telescopes and instruments cannot detect. We can't look inside a star, right? We can't. It'd be fascinating to see, though. Now, but there's no clear frontrunner, as far as theories are concerned, that explains the absence of lithium in the universe. Now, this is probably the more obscure one for you guys. I mean, why would you care about lithium? Who cares? Lithium, whatever. No, that's important.
Mackie, it's a mood stabilizer.
Aha! Hey!
Ah.
Give me the lithium now.
I'm going to buddy breathe the lithium with Mackie. Hang on, wrong side there. Why do we sleep? Now we did cover this off on one of our shows about sleep, and that we can't, if you don't sleep, there's effects. But just to run through this, while we do know that the human body is regulated by a circadian clock or circadian rhythm that keep humans on a sleep-wake cycle, we don't really know why. Sleep is the time when our bodies repair tissues and perform other maintenance activities, like defragging the brain's, sorting out the brain's memories from today. And we spend nearly a third of our lives snoozing. Nearly a whole third. Think about 8 hours per day. Crazy, right? Not all of us, though. I've got to put more in that bank. I've taken too much out. Some other organisms don't need sleep at all. So why do we? There are a few different ideas out there, but none seem to solidly answer the question. Some theorize that animals who are able to sleep have evolved the ability to hide from predators, while others who need to remain more alert are able to rest and regenerate in other ways without fully going to sleep. So we know that to hit deep sleep, it produces the chemicals that rebuilds your body, and you only need a 20-minute dip to be able to hit that. All bodybuilders know this one, right? So, but this is funny. While scientists don't quite know why we do it, they are starting to learn more about why it's important and how sleep impacts more things like brain plasticity, which is the new term for being able to learn new things. It's awesome.
Now, Dave and I actually advanced the theory as to why we need sleep. If you go to show number 100, we explain it in some detail, but let me just quickly give you our take on sleep. So sleep is in fact when our mind, our true self, is free. We liken it to a walk in the prison yard. Okay, and without it, you will die. If you do not sleep, REM sleep here, this is the important bit, if you do not have REM sleep, you will eventually die. It will kill you. Okay, this is a fact. We've got scientific studies. We've proven it, right? So what we believe is that in sleep times, our true selves, our mind, our essence, our soul, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, is free. Is free to roam the multiverse. So when you dream, while you dream, everything makes sense, pretty much, right? You're dreaming and you go, okay, I can go with this. So you're just going along with the flow, and I'm having a good time. You wake up, so you either forget your dreams. For the most part, we do, or you remember them, but they don't make any sense. You go, oh, this doesn't make any sense at all. It just, it's just very strange. So I believe that when you sleep, you in fact enter a higher dimensional state. Okay, you actually capable of perceiving more, understanding more, right? So when you're pulled back into this four-dimensional reality, into your body, as it were, your prison, that understanding ceases. And the dreams that you do remember, if you're lucky enough, make no sense anymore, because you no longer have the higher faculty to actually reason out what you've just experienced. You can no longer process the information in the same fashion that you did prior to that, because I believe our true selves are not, rather than being four-dimensional, I think we're 5, 6, 7, or 10. Who knows how many dimensional beings we are, but we are certainly operating on a higher level when we sleep in REM. There you go. That's my 2 cents worth.
While you're there, Matthew, give us gravity.
I will give you gravity. Now, this is interesting because, once again, Interstellar will touch on that as well. Fascinating stuff. Gravity is, in fact, the great savior of the human race. If you watch the movie, I haven't given anything away. Now, we all know that gravity from the moon causes tides. Right? We are familiar with the ebb and flow. Earth's gravity holds us to the surface. We know this as well, otherwise we'd be flying off into space.
Oh,
and
damn you, gravity.
Yes, right? And the sun's gravity keeps our planets in orbit on the plane of the ecliptic, more to the point.
That's correct.
But how much of gravity do we really understand? We've actually touched on this in the past as well on several shows, and the answer is we have no idea. We don't understand gravity at all. We have not the faintest idea. Now, this particular powerful force we think is generated from matter, and more massive objects therefore have a greater ability to attract other objects. So the more massive an object, the more gravity it generates. Right? That's fairly clear. Mm-hmm. Now, while scientists understand a great deal about how gravity acts, they aren't really sure why it exists. Right? And why are atoms mostly empty space? Because if you look at an atom, the structure of it, right, the electron crowd and all that, it's empty space. Why is the force that holds atoms together different from gravity? Is gravity maybe a particle? Okay? But the problem is that we can't answer those questions with our current understanding of physics. In fact, gravity is a relatively weak force when compared to magnetism, for example,
yep.
or the large and the small atomic forces, right? So gravity is actually comparatively weak, because a magnet will pick up something. It will counteract gravity. Am I right? I think so. Right? So again, no idea, right? Look, gravity is what makes you trip in the dark. It's fair enough. But why does it do that? Why? In fact, there's some theory that goes, there's not enough, so we don't see enough gravity. It's not strong enough a force for our universe. So some think gravity is cross-dimensional. Another theme that is picked up in Interstellar, by the way. So it's cross-dimensional. In fact, some of it bleeds into other dimensions. So gravity, in my opinion, is one of the strongest arguments for the multiverse theory. Mm-hmm. So it's a force that spans across. In fact, it might explain why people have dimensional shift or even time shift experiences.
Because they're pulled into the other place.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So gravity seems to be the force that sort of stretches across it all. Anyway, that's yeah. And then we have a message from the chat room from Noodle 61673. Gravitons. Yeah, look, Star Trek believes that we have gravitons. Now, we haven't found a graviton yet, but it's possible, certainly. Now, Dave, where is everybody?
Oh, I was going to add to this. You're absolutely right that gravity is such a weak force that it's difficult to measure on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, we can measure the speed of it, but variations in it exist and occur from moment to moment. So if I had a gravity-sensitive device, and I remember seeing Mythbusters doing this once, good plug for Mythbusters there, Jamie. What's extraordinary is they saw fluctuations in, like 8 decimal points past the zero, and they could see fluctuations in it. And they said this is, automobiles and a freeway, the transition of people at peak hour from one location to another, the metallic sphere inside, the molten metallic sphere inside our the Earth, which is presumed to make the magnetic field, fluctuates in density. There's so many different reasons that they're proposing. None are known. These proposed. Gravity actually still remains a theory because we don't know any more about it.
Yep.
It's also only been practiced on Earth, the Moon, and Mars, but not by us. Only here on Earth by us. There hasn't been detected and measured and tested on the moon, and it certainly hasn't gone anywhere else. So they don't know if it's still universal or not, but the best description of it that we know today is like putting a bowling ball on a trampoline. That's the best description. But if everything in the like a plane on the ecliptic when the sun was being made had its own distance, like it stood there with its arms out like its buddy and made an equidistant plane like an LP record, it would only take one of those objects, an irregularity, to bump into another to cause them all to eventually pool against that growing blob. And that's because of the suspected theory of their increasing gravity because of the increasing mass. I learnt that in physics. That's what I know to be true. And yet, the question still exists. How does it work, and why is it so darn weak? I love it, Mackie.
Yes, sir.
This is my famous. This is the best one, and I'm glad it came to me, Mackie.
It's all planned.
Yeah, planned. Yeah, everything's planned. There's nothing. It's all there in the Matrix. Where is everyone? I love that question. Where is everyone? Whitley Strieber would have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
The observable universe is at best 92 billion light years in diameter. Filled with billions of galaxies with stars and planets, yet the only evidence of any life anywhere is right here on Earth. That's it. It's the only evidence. I might have my own theories on this. Statistically, the odds of us actually being the only living beings in the whole entire universe are so impossibly low. So why haven't we connected to anyone else yet? This is known as the Fermi paradox. And
That's
there have
correct.
been dozens of suggestions to explain why we haven't encountered extraterrestrial life. Some more plausible than others. We could probably talk about all the different possibilities for days. Mickey and I certainly could, just between each other and my poor lunchroom buddies. Of all the differing possibilities for days about whether or not we're just missing signals, if they're actually been out there and we didn't know it, or they can't or don't want to talk to us, and I think that's more the latter. The extremely unlikely scenario if Earth is the only planet with life ever. Now, the theoretical physicists are suggesting that there is life, in fact, everywhere. And why on earth, and this is a Michio Kaku quote, why would they want to talk to us? We're sort of in the backwater of the universe.
We're the Bogans. We're the Bogans. We're the hillbillies, the rednecks.
Exactly. And if, honestly, I have to tell you, honestly, if Mekki and I were flying around, say all of our listeners, Mekki, we're all in a big spaceship and we go and find a bunch of people playing, with mud. Yeah, they haven't done anything. It sort of looks like a primeval Earth with primitive life forms. Primitive meaning they're bipedal, but they don't have a structured language or anything. What are we going to do? We'd have a conference between each other. We would have already had a predetermined set of rules. And I like in Star Trek, that's first contact rule. Not allowed
no interference.
No interference. Not allowed to contact them unless they get space travel.
Yep.
And it had to be via a certain method too. You can't just use chemical rockets.
That's right. You had to discover the subspace.
Yeah. So for me, that seems highly plausible. We have a lot of theories on Earth about their, and proof and stories from all the ancients talking about people coming down from space. Maybe that's where you're allowed to do it before they've got farming. Maybe that's the only rule. You can give them farming and politics and all that and let them sort themselves out for 1 million years and come back. I don't know. Maybe that's meant to kickstart people, because there's the physics around the food source from being fresh to being cooked changes the chemical substances inside the food and actually allows us to take more of it in once it's cooked. Raw meat versus cooked meat allows us to process more if it's cooked meat, for instance, if you're not a vegan. And by being able to cook our food, our intake is higher, sleep is reduced, we're able to think better, we're able to then become arty and all of the things that required from a civilization rather than just being farmers. So, and I'm not putting down farmers, right? But I mean in farming, isolated pockets, we don't communicate. It's very important that we made those evolutionary steps, but I'm I've got to pose it there. Where is everyone? Well, I think they're out there. That's my
They're somewhere.
my answer,
That's right. So that's like there was a question.
And if you buy my book, plug. If you buy,
I think buy Dave's book. Go on then. I've read it. It's a good book. No, but there are people who believe that the 92% out there asking, where's the rest of the universe? Where's the missing 8%? Yeah. So that's really really it's true. That's these are the numbers 92 and 8%. So we are the 8%, guys. Now I understand that Dave, you got a message from Wingman as a chat.
Sorry. I'll just jump to.
If it is fit to share, let's have a look. What is it?
He says he's got a theory that he cannot shake, and that's what I like about our listeners. Yeah.
Okay.
He says that splinter in the mind, Mecky. That two universes collided.
Mm-hmm.
One a mirror of anti. One a mirror or anti of the other. The anti-universe, I suspect, was micro and dense or super compressed. This type of collision would bring about the conditions and energy of the Big Bang due to the higher dimensions collapsing into the lower anti-space one. I like it.
Okay. That's not bad.
Wingman, awesome.
I think that's honestly, Wingman, that's as valid a theory as any of the other theories we've investigated and researched for this particular question. And in fact, I think can you actually send me the text, Dave? I like that.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Wingman. I think that's valid, a very valid thought.
Mickey, do you know what that just did for me? That's elevated our audience to awesome.
I think so. I think we have an audience awesome. We have an awesome audience. No, look, if you stay up, I don't know, it must be like some 4, 5 a.m. in the morning if you're listening in the States. Elsewhere in the world, I mean, might be more, I guess, friendly time zones. But look, we do appreciate you guys staying up and listening, and that's why we're trying to bring you some worthwhile content and spark the kind of discussions in the chat that we're seeing at the moment. So kudos to you, listeners and chat room participants. This is all about you guys. Which brings me, and please do send me the text, Dave. And now, what is dark matter made of? and again, this is a theory that's out there that there's in fact dark matter. So in fact, it's not 80%; it's 92%. There's a text here that says it's 80%. So people believe it's up to 92% of the universe is made of dark matter. Now, the dark matter is a pretty peculiar stuff. It doesn't emit any light, hence dark, right? Not really not much of a stretch there. Though it was first theorized some 60 years ago, there isn't any direct evidence of its existence. Well, because we can't see it, we can't in fact measure it. Many scientists believe that dark matter is comprised of weakly interacting massive particles, whimsically named WIMPs, which could be up to 100 times more massive than a proton. But they don't readily interact with the baryonic matter our instruments are designed to detect. So the baryonic matter is the matter, like that we made of, in fact. Now, other candidates for dark matter's composition, and this is just scientists making up names, include axions, neutralinos, and photinos. So I can make up words, bosonions, and mesanatas. So
what
there you go.
There's another two. Mechionians.
I like that very much, Davons. I tell you. Now the next one is a big one, right?
Yep. Oh, really? We're already there. Okay. So, how did life begin? Now, I know that this is a contentious topic, depending on which camp you're in to start with. But where did life on Earth come from? How did it happen? Those who believe in the primordial soup model, which I did until I left high school, believe that a nutrient-rich early Earth eventually formed increasingly complex molecules, actually DNA, that gave rise to life. This could have taken place in the deep ocean vents in clay or under ice, depending on which age it was at the time. Different models also gave variable levels of importance to the presence of lightning as a trigger, as we all know the Frankenstein's monster film.
Yes.
Or volcanic activity for the spawn of life. That's the spark, the initial thing that ticked it over from just being soup into having something. You know, you don't want to just make one of it. What are you going to do? You just make one of something, right? It's got to learn how to split. It's got to propagate. So I think
that's right.
That's the thing that no one can get their head around. Yeah, sure, I can make a pool of soup that's going to, look like it contains the DNA or the four substances that make it. But while DNA is the predominant basis for life on Earth now, it has been suggested that RNA could have dominated the first life forms. Additionally, other scientists question whether other nucleic acids aside from RNA or DNA may have once existed. So that this speculation came about when they went to Titan, and carbon dioxide is methane. Methane on Titan is in liquid, gas, and frozen, and it looks like Earth, but it's methane, liquid methane rather than water, and they believe that their life could certainly exist. So that made them question whether it's possible other things could have existed at previous times in the Earth's evolution as well, which I think is extraordinary. Did life spawn just once, or is it possible that it was created, wiped out, and then restarted? I love that question too, Meki, with the life cycles on Earth. Some believe in panspermia. And I believe that the theory is real for panspermia, that it certainly is able to be conducted, transmitted across from one place to another via rocks floating through space. We've proved that. In which microbial life was brought to Earth via meteorites or comets. We know that what were they called? Extremophiles.
Extremophiles, yes.
Extremophiles can live in extreme places. Yeah, like miners mining deep down, kilometers under the Earth surface, can tap into a rock and bring it to the surface and find that there's life inside the rock. It's never seen. It's been billions of years since it's been at the Earth's surface. Maybe it's bedrock. So even if that's true, it doesn't answer the question of how that life originated.
Yeah, I mean, so again, it's infinite regression, right? It's you might come up with even if we come on Earth, we say, oh look, it was the Anunnaki, it was interference, it was panspermia, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It was the finger of God.
Combinations of all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to then ask about the origin or the genesis of that particular creature.
So where did the
being,
Anunnaki come from?
Boom, right there, right? Where does God come from if there's a God, right? I mean, who made God, right?
Chicken or the egg, Mickey?
Chicken or, in fact, it's the it's the rooster.
It was the rooster all along.
It was the rooster. You guys think about that.
and look, that goes back to the other part where the Big Bang Theory. It's also been theorized that a civilization may have survived the Big Bang by not collapsing in with the collapsing universe, stayed aside and safe from it. Yeah.
Maybe out like extra dimensional, So again, who knows? I mean, that's the thing, we don't know. But infinite regression is really the is where we're ending up. Okay, so because we ultimately, how many times can you split an atom? How many questions can you ask? You must ask the ultimate question for the ultimate origin. That's really the question we need to ask here, right? So when it comes to
the universe.
Yeah, that's right. 42. Thank you very much. But this is really, this is of course beyond the scope of this show, or in fact, anything short of a deep philosophical course at university, where you can contemplate these things. But fundamentally, ultimately, we're all burdened with these questions. We all try to figure out what it's all about. I mean, that's what science is. That's what religion is as well. Believe it or not, that's what philosophy is. Most of our lives, if we have the time to do so, we spend wondering. I mean. And most of us find it easier to just subscribe to a certain belief system, right? And that's okay. That's cool. I get it. But don't do it blindly. I mean, understand what you believe and understand why you believe it as well. And I think that's the music. So, We'll have more. We have plate tectonics, plate tectonics next week, and dark energy.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that, as so is everyone else in our listening audience. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Show 142.